connection with perceptible qualities. In this sense, you resemble a void. 30. If the countless living entities were all pervading and possessed form that never changed, you could not possibly be their absolute ruler or immutable one. But since they are your localized expansions and their forms are subject to change, you do control them. Indeed, that which supplies the ingredients for the generations of something is necessary. It's controlled because a product never exists apart from its ingredient cause. It is simply illusion for someone to think that he knows the Supreme Lord, who is equally present in each of his expansions, since whatever knowledge one gains by material means must be imperfect. Hare Krishna.
Haribo, thank you so much for reading for us.
Hey, they're Austrian Indian Chaos Emeralds.
Okay, Hare Krishna, Vamsi. So, Marie, would you like to read next? I think we've lost our dear Jai Krishna, probably to internet failure. So, would you like to read now?
Text 30. Yes.
Go ahead.
Text 31. Neither material nature nor the soul who tries to enjoy her are ever born. Excuse me. Yet living bodies come into being when these two combine, just as bubbles form where water meets the air. And just as rivers merge into the ocean or the nectar from many different flowers blends into honey. So all these conditioned beings eventually merge back into you, the Supreme, along with the various names and qualities. The wise souls who understand how your Maya deludes all human beings render potent and loving service to you, who are the source of liberation from birth and death. How indeed can fear of material life affect your faithful servants? On the other hand, your furrowing eyebrows, excuse me, the triple-rimmed wheel of time repeatedly terrify those who refuse to take shelter of you. The mind is like an impetuous horse that even persons who have regulated their senses and breath cannot control. Those in this world who try to tame the uncontrolled mind, but who abandon the feet of their spiritual master, encounter hundreds of obstacles in their cultivation of various distressful practices. O unborn Lord, they are like merchants on a boat in the ocean who have failed to empty the helmsman. To those persons who take shelter of you, you reveal yourself as the super soul, the embodiment of all transcendental pleasure. What further use have such devotees for their servants, children, or bodies, their wives, money, or houses, their land, good health, or conveyances? And for those who fail to appreciate the truth about you or go on pursuing the pleasures of sex, what could there be in this entire world, a place inherently doomed to destruction and devoid of significance, that could give them real happiness?
Wow.
Sages free from false pride live on this earth by frequently the sacred pilgrimage sites, by frequenting the sacred pilgrimage sites and those places where the Supreme Lord displayed his pastimes. Because such devotees keep your lotus feet within their hearts, the water that washes their feet destroy all sins. Anyone who even once turns his mind towards you, the ever blissful soul of all existence, no longer dedicates himself to serving family life at home, which simply robs a man of his good qualities. It may be proposed that this world is permanently real because it is generated by the permanent reality. But such an argument is subject to logical refutation. Sometimes, indeed, the apparent non-difference of a cause and its effect fails to prove true, and at other times, the product of something real is illusory. Furthermore, the world cannot be permanently real, for it partakes of the nature of not only the absolute reality, but also the illusion disguising that reality. Actually, the visible forms of this world are just an imaginary arrangement resorted to by the succession of ignorant persons in order to facilitate their material affairs. With their various meanings and implications, the learned words of your Vedas bewilder all persons whose minds have been dulled by hearing the incantations of sacrificial rituals. Since this universe did not exist prior to its creation and will no longer exist after its annihilation, we conclude that in this interim, it is nothing more than a manifestation imagined to be visible within you, whose spiritual enjoyment never changes. We liken this universe to the transformation of various material substances into diverse forms. Certainly, those who believe that this figment of the imagination is substantially real are less intelligent. The illusory material nature attracts the minute living entity to embrace her, and as a result, he assumes forms composed of her qualities. Subsequently, he loses all his spiritual qualities and must undergo repeated death. You, however, avoid the material energy in the same way that a snake abandons its old skin. Glorious in your possession of eight mystic perfections, you enjoy unlimited opulences. Members of the renounced order who fail to uproot the last traces of material desire in their hearts remain impure, and thus you do not allow them to understand you. Although you are present within their hearts, for them you are like a jewel worn around the neck of a man who has totally forgotten it is there. O Lord, those who practice yoga only for sense gratification must suffer punishment both in this life and the next, from death, who will not release them, and from you, whose kingdom they cannot reach. When a person realizes you, he no longer cares about his good and bad fortune arising from past pious and sinful acts, since it is you alone who control this good and bad fortune. Such a realized devotee also disregards what ordinary living beings say about him. Every day he will fill his ears with your glories, which are recited in each age by the unbroken succession of Manu's descendants, and thus you become the ultimate salvation.
Hmm.
Because you are unlimited, neither the lords of heaven nor even you yourself can ever reach the end of your glories. The countless universes, each enveloped in its shell, are compelled by the wheel of time to wander within you, like particles of dust blowing about in the sky. The Srutis, following their method of eliminating everything separate from the Supreme, become successful by revealing you as their final conclusion. The Supreme Lord, Sri Narayan Rishi, said, having heard these instructions about the Supreme Self, the personality of Godhead, the sons of Brahma now understood their final destination. They felt perfectly satisfied and honor Sanadana with their worship.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Marie. That was very good. Ranga, do you want to grab the last bit of this? There's 6 or 8 left.
Here I can.
Okay.
Sorry, my computer for some reason just went dead.
I noticed that a minute ago. That was pretty weird.
Yeah, so yeah,
All right.
come back in. Right. Thus, the ancient saints who travel in the upper heavens distilled this nectarian and confidential essence of all the Vedas and Puranas. And as you wander the earth at will, my dear son of Brahma, you should faithfully meditate on these instructions concerning the science of the self, which burn up the material desires of all men. Shukadev Goswami said, when Sri Narayan Rishi ordered him in this way, the self-possessed sage Narada, whose vow is as heroic as a warrior's, accepted the command with firm faith. Now successful in all his purposes, he thought about what he had heard, O king, and replied to the Lord as follows. Sri Narada said, I offer my obeisances to him of a spotless fame, the Supreme Lord Krishna, who manifests his all-attractive personal expansion so that all living beings can achieve liberation. After saying this, Narada bowed down to Sri Narayan Rishi, the foremost of sages, and also to his saintly disciples. He then returned to the hermitage of my father, Dwaipayana Vyas. Vasudev, the incarnation of the personality of Godhead, respectfully greeted Narada Muni and offered him a seat, which he accepted. Narada then described to Vyas what he had heard from the mouth of Sri Narayan Rishi. Thus I've replied to the question you asked me, O king, concerning how the mind can have access to the absolute truth, which is indescribable by material words and devoid of material qualities. He is the Lord who eternally watches over this universe, who exists before, during, and after its manifestation. He is the master of both the unmanifest material energy and the spirit soul. After sending forth the creation, he enters within it, accompanying each living entity. There he creates the material bodies and then remains as their regulator. By surrendering to him, one can escape the embrace of illusion. Just as a dreaming person forgets his own body, one who wants liberation from fear should constantly meditate upon him, Lord Hari, who is always on the platform of perfection and thus never subject to material birth.
Wow.
That's the end of that
Yes.
chapter.
But we're not going to read another one tonight. We've got a little bit. We should probably go over in this chapter.
Yeah.
This is one of the most intensive chapters in the entire study, actually. And it's one of the most realized, conclusive, kind of distilled, in my mind, essence of all of the Vedic literature that we've been studying. And it makes sense for it to be here at the end of the 10th chapter, which is known as, or 10th canto, which is known as Summum Bonum. Summum Bonum. That means the conclusion of the Vedas, the conclusion of life, the final distillation of the purpose of existence. And this should be everyone's question. You know, Ajay and I were talking a little bit earlier today, and we're talking about distributing books at the universities today. And, you know, one of the ways we used to hand out books, we'd hand a small book about perfection of yoga or science of self-realization, and just ask a person, have you ever wondered who put you here? Have you ever wondered why you were put here? Have you ever thought for a moment what might lie beyond this life and beyond the sky that you're looking at and the stars? Have you ever wondered who's the creator of this universe? And what is the purpose of all these things? This is known as a Tato Brahma Jigyasa in the Vedic axiom, which means, who am I? Who am I really? What is this about? So this chapter covers it conclusively. I mean, if you have any questions ever in the future and you want to understand what's happening here, all you have to do is read the prayers of the Personified Vedas. First of all, the Personified Vedas existed from the breathing of God as he slept. They woke him up. And after he woke up, he manifests this universe through Lord Brahma. Okay? So these prayers go beyond the creation of the Mahatapa. These prayers are transcendental to the Mahatapa. And they existed prior to the Mahatapa. Do you know any place else you can find that? No, because everything else starts with Brahma, and his first prayers, his first words, Ishvara Parama Krishna. So what does Brahma do when he sits down and meditates for like 1,000 years? He finally comes, Ishvara Parama Krishna. He finally wakes up, and he knows that Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha. He knows that he's eternal, full of knowledge, bliss, and he has a beautiful, eternal, blooming form of youth that is never denigrated, by the way. So, Satchidananda, and he goes on, he says, Adir Govinda, just in case you were wondering who this Krishna person was, he's also known as Govinda. Okay, so look it up. If you want to know who God is, his name is Govinda. So you can find out all about Govinda. It's not a problem. You can know God perfectly well. He's come to teach you about him. The Personified Vedas were there waking him up with his own glories, just like the king in the great Vedic civilization was woken up by his minstrels or his reciters, and they were talking about his great glory, what his accomplishments were. So he got to wake up thinking, how wonderful I am every day, right? I don't know if I can handle that. I'd probably go, now guys, take it easy, all right? You give me a big hit. But with Krishna, he can't get to the end of his glories. No way. So this is a beautiful, beautiful series of realizations and prayers that we should meditate on today for a little while longer. And I wonder, does anybody have a specific part of this chapter that you want to elucidate or ask a question about or add anything to, some commentary? And we could just start with a few of these verses and go through as many as we can until we run out of time. But I'm happy to go back and go over a few that stimulated me. You're welcome to do that as well, or just add in as we're going through. Does anybody have any question or comment before we start? All right. Well, this is some pretty heavy stuff, guys. Pretty heavy stuff. So I'm going to hit some of the highlights for you. And stop me if you have any questions or things you want to add to it. It all starts out with me at text 3. And those who came before even our ancient predecessors meditated on the same confidential knowledge of the absolute truth. Indeed, anyone who faithfully concentrates on this knowledge will become free from material attachment and attain to the final goal of life. That's pretty strong, guys. I mean, where can you find confirmation of that from the mouth of Krishna, for an example? Can anyone think of a verse or somewhere that might remind them of what they're saying here? Right? And when he talks about those who came before even our ancient predecessors, he's talking about those persons who are transcendental to the material existence. Just like Sweta Dweep lasts forever, So there's things going on even during the unmanifested annihilation of the world where it's all drawn back into the body of God. But the first thing that comes to my mind on this verse where it says, indeed, anyone who faithfully concentrates on this knowledge will become free from all material attachment. Krishna says in 4:11 in Bhagavad Gita, Yayata mam prapadyate tungstataiva bhajamyaham. Mama Manu Vartante, Manusya Parta Sarvasha. And Krishna says that all of them, every single one of them, because we're all manifest from Krishna, we're actually one. And we're drawn back into one body, and that's the Lord. And then we manifest in all these varieties of expansions of the Lord. This is God's expansion. When I look at you, I see God. God is within you. He's not gone somewhere else. Yes, he is, but he's also simultaneously here. So he says, as they surrender to me, I will reward them accordingly. So why do you think there are demigods who are subject to the greatest responsibilities in the universe, to maintain the lights and the water and the electric of the universe? Why do you think they're given such responsibilities? Because they are rewarded, because they've surrendered to Krishna. Okay? So if you want to be rewarded, you have to start out by surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's no question about it. And when one day, Krishna recommends that all the time. Man mana bhava bad bhakto majjim nam namaskari. In other words, fix your mind on me. Think about me always. Worship me. Make offerings to me. Always think about me. Because guess what? Thinking about Krishna is thinking about your best interest. It's really just you through Krishna. That reciprocation, that rasa, that he's become many, is designed for enjoyment and pleasure. Sacrifice is meant for pleasure. Described in this verse that those demigods who are receiving sacrifice, they're also offering it to God. Okay? But they enjoy their portion of the sacrifice too. And God doesn't prohibit that. But if they try to enjoy separately from God and they don't offer it to the Lord, it becomes boga. It becomes sin, only sin. So here's something I wanted to share with you. This is in, and this chapter is pretty cool. There's some more of this as we go along. You'll see why I'm bringing this up. But this is in Bhagavad Gita, The Opulence of the Absolute 10:18, in case you want to reference it. But it's very similar to the questions they asked just a minute ago. The question that they were asking about, how is it possible, that because the material world is the material world, how can we get out of here just by studying the Vedas? Because they're all about the three modes of material nature. So in the same way, Arjuna says, "Oh, Janardana, again, please describe in detail your opulences. Who are you? I'm never satiated in hearing about you, for the more I hear, the more I want to taste nectar from your words." Krishna is saying like that. These saints are saying the same thing. These same questions are coming to bear here today. So it says a similar statement was also made by Sutta Goswami and the rishis of Naimisharanya, headed by Saunaka Rishi. The statement was, Vayam tu na vitrapyama uttama shloka vikrame. And what it means is one can never be satiated even though one continuously hears the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, who is glorified by most excellent prayers. Those who have entered into a transcendental relationship with Krishna relish at every step the descriptions of the pastimes of the Lord. So this whole thing has started before Krishna even dreams this creation of the Mahatapa and enters it. And it's done by the personified Vedas, which are expansions of the Lord through his breathing. Go figure that one out. So Arjuna is interested in hearing about Krishna and specifically how he remains as the all-pervading Lord. How does he do this? How does he function this way is the question, because he's entering it, but he's not of it. So it goes on in the purport and it says in this particular chapter, I'll paraphrase for you, but it says basically like the air is within a pot. Okay, here's a pot and there's air in it, but the air never really touches the pot, does it? It does, but it doesn't. It's not affected by the pot. The air is in the pot, but it's not the pot. So Krishna is in this pot of the material universe, but he's not in it. He's separated from it. So we can use those examples to understand. The next verses in this thing that tear me up, but you guys stop me if you got anything you want to add or talk about. But this verse, it says is that the Lord lay for some time as if he is asleep, although he's never asleep. He's fully cognizant. of everything at every moment, fully aware. Even though he can't even understand his own opulences, he's still aware of all of these things in their ever expanding nature. And he goes on to say that when the time came for the next creation, the personified Vedas awakened him by chanting his glories, just as the poets serving a king approach him at dawn and awaken him by reciting his historic deeds. And they say, "Victory, victory, Jaya, Jaya. All glories to you, O unconquerable one. By your very nature, you're full of all opulences." So what does Arjuna say? Let's go back. Okay, we're going back to the opulence of the Absolute for a second. And the Supreme Lord says in response to Arjuna, he says, "Yes, I will tell you of some of my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent, O Arjuna, for my opulence is limitless." So could you imagine the Bhagavad Gita in this chapter just going on forever and ever and ever and never stopping? It would go on forever. So he says, the first thing the Lord says, "I am the super soul." That's the first thing he tells them. And that's what these sages are concluding for us, that he is the super soul, right? So he's the supreme Brahman, the ultimate foundation of all existence. He's remaining unchanged as all created things are generated from him and at last is dissolved into him. All right? It's just like if a clay pot has those things you're putting in and they're added to and taken out of, but the pot remains the same, unchanged by the products made from it and again merge back into it. So it says that he says, "I am the all-evading super soul. I'm the beginning, I am the middle, I am the end of all beings." And it says in this verse that we have taken our birth and our death is certain. And that we find in the first or second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It describes that as all beings taking their birth, their death is certain. He goes on, "I'm the lights of the radiant sun, the stars and the moon. I'm the demigods. I'm Indra. I'm the king of heaven." He says, "I am the king of heaven." Krishna says that. So the potency of Indra comes from Krishna. Sometimes he gets a little proud of it and he starts thinking of himself as separate. And therefore the Lord has to come and humiliate him, really. And once he's humbled, right, he then bows down to the Lord and says some beautiful prayers. It's pretty amazing. But in living beings, Krishna says, he is your living force. What? Krishna is your living force inside your body. He says, "Of the senses, I am the mind." So Krishna is the consciousness within your body. So you owe him every single thing that you have. There's nothing that you have that you don't owe him. And once you know that, you're not attached to it. You figure it belongs to Krishna, it ain't mine anyway. He can do whatever he wants to with it. I may gain, I may lose, I may expand, I may retract, but as long as I'm conscious of Krishna, I'm in a perfect situation. I'm in the perfected situation. There is no sin. There is no karma. There is no fear of death. The devotee, it says, puts his feet on the head of death. Haribo? Did you hear that one? The devotee puts his feet on the head of death fearlessly and steps back home, back to Godhead, lifting off of the head of death. He's not worried about anything. He doesn't own his family. He's not worried about it. He's given everything to Krishna. He doesn't own his treasury or his wealth. Krishna owns it all. He can do whatever he wants to with it. And why is he doing it? Well, you'll find out. Hey, guess what? You'll find out in due course of time why he puts you through whatever you went through. But it may take a minute because his intelligence is so far beyond us. Just some sages are called Trikalagyani, which means that they know the past, the present, the future. What do you think Krishna knows? Every single thing that you need. So when he goes on, he talks about all of these different things. He says, he is Shiva. Krishna says, I am Shiva. What's the fight about, people? Krishna is Shiva. Should be no argument, right? And he says he's the Lord of wealth, Kuvera. He owns all the money. He's Agni, fire god, and he's the largest mountain, Meru. He goes on about he's the bodies of water, I am the ocean. So try to understand. One of the main things that he says of sacrifices, because we're going to get to a little sacrifice here in a minute. He says, of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, japa. So this is the age of the chanting of the holy names. This is the time, this is the place, and this is the season, because Lord Chaitanya was here recently, and all the great Vaishnavacharyas lined up to propagate this Krishna consciousness, including the 6 Goswamis who started it all off. And then we get to Bhaktivinoda, Bhaktisiddhanta, Prabhupada. Look what's happened. So you cannot benefit without sacrifice. No one can benefit without sacrifice. Everything is meant for sacrifice. Nayam lokasya gyagyasya. Gyagyasya means that without sacrifice, you cannot and you will not live happily on this planet or in this life. So what of the next? What of the next? If you can't get it here, when are you going to finally be happy if you don't do any sacrifice? No, you get repeated birth and death. And this goes over that with us repeatedly. Let's, well, we're only on text 16, and I've got 41 verses I'd like to go over with you. So we're going to run out of time. So I'm just going to kind of reduce a little bit of this. But one of the things that stuck out in my mind was the verses 16 and 17. If you look at them, that you'll see. To get rid of all misery, one should dive deep into the nectarian oceans of topics about you. So if you want to get rid of misery, you got to hear about Krishna. And then it says, it goes on that if you want to get rid of your bad habits and free yourself from that stuff, all you really have to do is worship the Lord's true nature. And then you'll find within yourself uninterrupted bliss. Now that's a promise. And that's a statement here in the Vedas. So if you're looking for uninterrupted bliss, you better get busy, just doing the things we're doing here tonight, which is glorifying the Lord like the Personified Vedas did. So one of the things that Prabhupada used to say, that the breathing of a person who is a non-devotee is no better than the breathing of a bellows in a blacksmith shop. Right? And here it's repeated again. Prabhupada's always said this. And it's found in other places in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but here it's mentioned particularly. It goes, only if they become your faithful followers are those who breathe actually alive. The rest are just dead bodies, flapping about for a while, producing some offspring, eating, passing stool, sleeping. There's not much going on except for karma. In one place, Prabhupada said, or in the Vedas it said, I can't remember where this is at, Vamsi may know, but it says, for the karmi, one should not live and one should not die. You shouldn't live and you shouldn't die. So what are you going to do? You have no place in any sphere. Why? Because if you live, you're creating more karmic reaction. And if you die, you're going to suffer the karmic reaction that you've already created. So don't live or don't die. How's that going to work out? So the only alternative is to become a devotee of the Lord. Otherwise, your breathing is like that of a bellows. And that's it. So I thought that was a really sweet little thing that we should add to our repertoire. So there's some other things too that I won't get into, but he does say that the universe is in the shape of an egg. And if you look at all of this stuff, it's all like an egg. Everything's an egg. Everything's an egg. I mean, born from eggs, we're born from seeds. They're kind of like little eggs, right? So it pretty much it's egg, right? I mean, we're We're all born from these embryos, right? And so the universes are like that too, and there's billions and trillions of them all clustered together. And each one is a Brahma, and each one is activities going on like what we're seeing. We cannot fathom the actual magnitude of this Mahatapa. There's no way you can fathom this. It's not it's not going to happen. I mean, Krishna will give you a realization of it, but you're not going to be able to imagine how this is. So the yogis go through terrible trouble and austerity. You wouldn't believe the trouble. You can read about it, and we ain't got time to talk about it right now, but they're submerged to water this deep. They're sitting in a fire when it's hot and all building more and more fire around them. They don't care about the elements. They don't care about what people think about them. They could care less. They're meditating on God. They finally got serious. I'm getting the hell out of this place. This is a dangerous place. Let me get out of here. And it says that they try to bring their energy from the solar plexus down here in the lower chakras to the heart, the runi, I believe is what it's called, chakra. And then it goes here, and then it goes to the head, and then finally out the little top in the hole. There's a hole here where you never grew back together. Did you know that? Did you know there's a hole in your head? My mom used to tell me, boy, you must have a hole in your head because your brains have all come out or something. You're not thinking very well. But that's how the sages bring their energy to this top point, and they project themselves out to whatever destination they desire. Think about it. Otherwise, and it says after they bring their consciousness to this point, passing through the top of the head toward the supreme destination, they reach that place from which they never again fall to this material world or into the mouth of death. They never fall again. Guess what? All that work they did, even the demons who hated Krishna got the same rewards as they did. Did you know that? Hello? Did you know that they're getting the same type of liberation, bodily liberation, as God? Kamsa did, right? And he hated Krishna. He tried to kill all of his brothers and sisters. He did kill them. He dashed their brains out in the prison house. Think about it. How horrible. So he still got liberation even after doing that. What? The same liberation that these people are meditating and going through these austerities for years and years and years and years, and finally they eject themselves to the top of their head. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama Eva Kevalam, guys. It's easy now. All you got to do is chant a little Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare. It's not hard. Didn't cost me no money. Did you have to pay? No. No. What do you have to do? Breathe in and breathe out God's name. So what? Big deal, right? Just think of what you might have to go through otherwise to get this type of liberation. So, okay, we're gonna run out of time. There's so much in this beautiful chapter, though. My God, there's one here that I want to. Let's see if I've got time to go over this for you. It says here, some fortunate souls have gotten relief. Some have from the fatigue of material life simply by diving into your vast nectar ocean of your pastimes. So we're at the end of the Summum Bonum, the 10th canto. This is the Summum Bonum. Krishna describes it as Rajavidya, Rajaguyam. In other words, this is the end of all knowledge, of all seeking after knowledge, the most confidential of all secrets. Right? Most personal information you've been given. You now have reached the Summum Bonum. Congratulations. Now you have to use it. Now you have to be mindful of all these stories. Now you have to repeat them in the mind. You have to think about them all day and night. You have to sing kirtan in the back of your mind as an endless loop tape. You have to only eat prasadam. You have to see everything as belonging to Krishna, and that everything that is sent to you is Krishna speaking directly to you and educating you directly through the mercy of Guru Kripa, spiritual master. Okay, so it says here that by diving into these vast oceans of nectar, which we've been doing now for several years, it says you manifest these personal forms simply to propagate the unfathomable science of the self. So Krishna's come in all these incarnations we've been talking about. And why is he doing it? To bring you home. He's doing it so that you can understand the science of the self. And it says these rare souls, they don't even care for liberation. They don't even care about it. They renounce the happiness of this material world, whether it's their home or their family. And by the way, home and family can be one of the most painful things there is in existence, but it is an obligation and you have to take care of them accordingly. But the point is, it is a challenge for all of us, to maintain that family and home. And we still have to maintain detachment from it. So it says, devotees then are like flocks of swans. So we got a whole flock of swans here this evening. So I'm very happy to have been with you for this time. It's 8:04. We only got to even doing a little purport to the 21st verse. Let me pop ahead just one little thing, and I'll leave it at this. Go to text 40 if you want to follow what I'm saying, because it's got some things here that we should tout as the glory of the Lord. So here's something that you should look at very carefully. And this way you can test whether or not you are fully realized, or if you're a realized person. It says when a person realizes God, or Krishna, when he realizes you, he no longer cares about his good or bad fortune arising from his past pious and sinful acts. He's not looking about having better karma or worse karma. He doesn't care about karma anymore. And it says he knows that you alone control this good or so-called bad fortune. Right? Did you hear me? Okay. So he knows that. He knows that Krishna's controlling it. Therefore, he's unattached. It says such a realized devotee disregards what ordinary living beings may even say about him. He doesn't even care what people think or say. And you saw that in the life of Chaitanya, which we're getting ready to start. A lot of those devotees just did not care for any kind of convention at all. And they could care less. And they performed their devotional service in the mood of devotion in front of everybody. And sometimes they were actually persecuted for it. There was a story of Lord Chaitanya where, I can't remember who it was, it might have been Swarab Damodar. They had to evacuate the Lord because he was exhibiting these signs and people were becoming quite envious. And therefore he had to be removed and hidden from the crowd, or otherwise they might have tried to harm the devotees. So anyway, it says here that he disregards what ordinary living beings say about him. And every day, listen to this, every day he fills his ears with your glories. So that's all he does. That's all he does. That's all he does. Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto. He's following what Krishna has told us. So it says here that thus all of the ancient sages who travel in the upper heavens distilled this nectarine and confidential essence of all the Vedas and Puranas, and therefore they've given it to us tonight. Isn't that wonderful? And what does it say? It says that if you just simply hear this and you live in accordance to this and you constantly meditate on the Lord, one who wants liberation from fear That means fear of death, obviously, and loss and all these things, should constantly meditate upon the Lord. Hari. And that person is always on the platform of perfection. That person is always on the platform of perfection, and thus is never subjected to material death and birth. Think about it. That's what you've been offered this evening. What would you pay for that? You know, all these materialistic men, they go, just one more day, just one more time. Can you make me last longer? Maybe you could cryogenically freeze my old cadaver, and in one day you figure out how to put the ingredients together, it comes back to life. Well, good luck with that. They blow them off into space. I don't know what they do. It's all a big bunch of nonsense. It's like the Egyptians getting buried with their boat and all their servants and all their money and everything. It's just a waste. Just a waste of money. They should have engaged that in the citizens' welfare. A nice Rajarishi would have, okay? Not just how to take it with him when he goes to the afterlife. So these things are all mental concoctions, all nonsense. And maybe they may deliver you to a higher planet temporarily, but then you fall back down in the material pool. You become amoeba again. Or you're a worm in stool. Congratulations. How'd that work out for you? See what I'm saying, guys? But a person who simply takes this distillation of information that's given to you by Personified Vedas today and applies it to their life, and who's constantly meditating on the Lord, that person is never subject again to material birth. So congratulations. You guys have done a nice job tonight. I really appreciate being with you. Unfortunately, we're not going to get through all of this, so we got some nice stuff done. So that'll be added to the repertoire, and we'll take it from there next time. Any questions or comments before we end the class? Hare Krishna. So everybody's decided that they're going to become pure devotees tonight, right? Raise your hand if you're going to be a pure devotee. All right. I see. There you go. All right. All hands are going up. I love that. Okay. Well, guys, that's the purpose of the program. So obviously we're very successful tonight. Hey, take me with you, okay? That's all I'm asking. Come back and get me. Look, my hand's up too, all right? Bob's over there. He's going home. Look at it. Hare Krishna. I saw him eating a cookie a minute ago. Was that Prashant? Was that?
Yes, of course. We don't do anything else.
You know, I
The
tell him
Lord eats first.
he's sinless. He's free of all sin, and therefore he is not subject to material birth. All right, guys, listen, thanks again. And if there's no further questions, just simply repeat after me. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna
Krishna.
Krishna.
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Rama Rama.
Rama
Rama
Rama.
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 Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Y'all beautiful, and I love you really good. And I know Krishna does too. I feel it. And thank you so much for blessing the world with your wonderful association. Please take this information and disseminate it widely wherever you go. And because this is the answer to everybody's problem and the solution for birth and death in the material world. Okay. So I'll see you next time, guys. We only got a couple of chapters left. Let's finish these up. Then we might go through a little bit of the 11th and 12th just to hit on it a little bit. There's a couple of avatars there. And then we're going to start with Chaitanya Charitamrita. Haribo. And we're going to do mainly only the stories of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So they're going to be really nice to hear the stories. And we're just going to meditate on the meaning of the stories in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's not going to be such a philosophical, exercise necessarily, but all the philosophy is in the actions of the Lord. Okay. Hare Krishna, everybody. Same time, same station. See you next week.
Haribo.
Krishna.
All Christians, assembled devotees.
Haribo.
Haribo.